Madam President, Your Excellency, distinguished members of the Council. Firstly, may I congratulate Norway for its presidency of the Council this month. It is a real honor to have the opportunity in this new year to present the 34th report of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court in relation to the Darfur situation in Sudan, pursuant to Resolution 1593 that the Council passed, of course, in 2005. Despite the strictures of COVID and the wearing of masks, it is wonderful, even with these constraints, to be here in person. I would like to begin, Madam President, if I may, by recalling what I said when I was meeting with Darfur survivors and victims when I was in Khartoum on the 17th of August last year. I convened a meeting with Darfur civil society. Many individuals were struggling and have been struggling for almost 2 decades for something that should be simple, but seems extremely complex, namely justice, a modicum of accountability that underlines the fact that every life matters. They have struggled and they have shown perseverance in relation to crimes that have unfortunately characterized a generation, at least of men, women, and children. It was that suffering that led this Council to use Chapter 7 powers in 2005 and refer the situation to the ICC. I share the frustrations, the impatience, and the hopes of those survivors that singular moment, the first referral by the Council to the ICC, will reap dividends. Expectations are not unreasonable. It is simply that there should be some justice. The victims, the survivors, the people of Darfur have shown that persistence, but it is important, as I said in my interactions with Sudanese government members, that this referral cannot be a never-ending story. It cannot be. We are approaching middle age, 34 reports. We need collectively to do better. My office, of course, but also this Council, to make sure the promise and the purpose of the referral is wedded with concrete action. There is sign for hope, and there has been progress notwithstanding difficulties that remain. In July of last year, all 31 charges relating to a notorious Janjaweed leader, Ali Kushayb, were confirmed, and the trial has been set down to start on the 5th of April of this year. The charges include war crimes, crimes against humanity, murder, rape, torture, attacks against the civilian population in Wadi Salih and Muhkar. That's an important moment. This year, in just 3 months' time, the promise of the Council will start being demonstrated in action by the allegations that the office have preferred, being placed before independent and impartial judges. At the same time, and I'm hoping to work with the registry of the court to make sure there is an organized and effective outreach program so that Sudanese people in Sudan and in Darfur or outside can follow the proceedings, because they have a right to know what happened and they have a right to see the truth. But the Ali Kushayb case is one case. There are, of course, 4 warrants outstanding. The case against former President Omar al-Bashir, the case against the former Minister of Interior, Abdul Raheem Mohammad Hussein, the former Governor of South Kordofan, Ahmad Harun, and the case against the former Gem rebel commander, Abdullah Banda. In relation to Abdullah Banda, I recused myself from that case, and that case is being supervised directly by the Deputy Prosecutor. It is important, as I said, in relation to my Libya briefing in December, that during my term, I wish to prioritize cases that have been referred by the Council. And I started that in the Sudan situation by conducting a review of the evidence to look at the strength of those cases. And I also ensured additional resources are brought into that situation so that we can hopefully be more effective. But the reality is this, that for a variety of reasons over the last 17 years, including the non-cooperation of the government of Sudan by the previous administrations, there were no field investigations in the country. And my predecessor hibernated for a long period this situation so that investigations did not mature. As a result, I realized that the evidence, particularly against Mr. al-Bashir and Mr. Hussein, needs strengthening. I am satisfied with the strength of the evidence regarding Ali Kushayb, but in relation to those two cases I have mentioned, we need to make sure we do better. And that requires cooperation from Sudan. It requires assistance from Sudan, and it also requires cooperation, collaboration from members of this council and member states of the United Nations. In that evidential landscape, I have given more resources to the team, put more investigators on the case, also people with Arabic language skills as well. And immediately in August, 2 months after my term commenced, I went to Sudan to speak to the government, realizing the importance of cooperation. That brought tangible results because for the first time, we concluded a memorandum of understanding, not only in relation to Ali Kushayb, but in relation to all 4 of the cases for whom judges of the ICC have issued warrants. I also appointed a pro bono special advisor to focus exclusively on the Darfur situation so we can move together, get cooperation to a greater extent, and that is Ms. Amal Clooney. And again, this is evidence of my intent not just to say I am prioritizing Security Council referrals, but to make sure that the resources that are needed are put into that case. During my trip to Khartoum in August, we had some constructive meetings. I met with General al-Burhan of the Sovereignty Council, then Prime Minister Hamdok and Foreign Minister and Minister of Justice. We also met UNITAMs, Volker Perthes, and members of the international community. And in this, I also underlined a new approach. It is not, and this is a beautiful thing about the law, there are many different solutions to one fundamental problem. It is not the location of trial or even the forum of adjudication that is critical. What is critical are independent and impartial investigations, independent and impartial adjudications, and then the rule of law that should triumph so victims can move forward, realizing that everything has been done to try to ensure justice. And I emphasized to the government members that I would be willing to use the full panoply of options that are entwined in the Rome Statute to try to make sure that we can work together and forge better bonds so that this chapter could be closed. But the simple issue is this. If we don't accelerate cooperation between the government of Sudan and my office, investigations will keep continuing. If we are to carve out a roadmap for the completion of this situation in the way that I believe the Council wants, that the victims want, the way to do it is to accelerate, to inject more cooperation and assistance within the office. And if that is done, I think we can move forward in an effective way. I do want, Madam President, with your leave, to speak directly to those victims, to underline during my term that we have an unwavering commitment to ensure that the intention of this Council in the landmark decision of 2005 is honored and respected. That we can have proper, rigorous investigations to put before judges what the truth of the matter is. And in my view, and I'll be quite candid about the state of the evidence, but I'll also be quite candid about one simple truth. Sudan runs the risk of always being defined by the past conduct, by the events that compelled the Security Council to act in 2005 until and unless we get justice. If we work together, if we work in partnerships, the Office of the Prosecutor, the government of Sudan, this council, member states, we can close this chapter. And if we close that chapter, I believe unencumbered and relieved by some of the burdens of the past, by ensuring justice, Sudan will have every possibility to do something which every council member wants, which is to write a new chapter so it can march forward to a better and more prosperous and safer future. So thank you so much for your time, and this is my report. Thank you very much.